Hey, it's syndicated radio talk show host, author, singer Al Cole, welcoming you to another edition of People of Distinction, the talk that gives an in-depth view of some of the most dynamic, intelligent, and successful people on the planet. I come from CBS Radio. My shows are nationally syndicated, and I've helped pave the way to treating women, guys too. And we've got a guy coming up right now who's really into suspense. Yeah, he's got a book out, a fiction book, that I think you're going to be gripped by. And he's part of the series that I have with People of Distinction, spotlighting authors who are not necessarily nationally known, but they could be great authors. And they're brought to me by companies around the country, around the world, who engage in promoting authors. Yeah, self-publishing companies. And they come to me, and they get a wonderful spotlight interview. This gentleman's name is Raey Golden. Yeah, we like that name. Raey Golden, and he's written a really gripping book here, Treason and Murder Investigation. All right, so it's a thriller, and it has a few, just in the title you can tell. Treason, wow, all right. Now they're going against the grain of Americanism and U.S. policy, so they're treasonous. And murder, well, they're murdering people, and so we have to investigate these people, and we have to hopefully put them behind bars. And in his plot, Major General Jorgensen is the good guy. He's the guy, he's a major general in the army, and he's proceeding to stop these traitors who are stealing government information. Get that, people. Now, do you get where it's coming from? Treason and Murder Investigation. It's kind of novel that I think you would like to read. You know, a lot of people late at night, they're getting in terms of their alone time or relaxing time. They like to, read different sorts of fiction books. This could be the fiction book for you. Treason and Murder Investigation. And we're going to talk to Raey about it and find out a little bit more about this book. It's available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And I will say that Raey was brought to us by a very fine self-publishing company in the industry. And they are Author Reputation Press. And if you got a book that you got to move, well, you move it through Author Reputation Press. Go to their website. Find out more. AuthorReputationPress.com. Welcome, Raey, to People of Distinction with Al Cole. It's a pleasure to have you on today. How you doing today, Raey?
I'm doing pretty good.
All right, we're going to be talking about it. Treason and Murder Investigation. Now, we're going to start out with, I want to ask you this question that I know my listeners are curious about right now. What made you want to write a book named Treason and Murder Investigation? Have you been involved with that? One of the good guys maybe helping to stop traitors who are stealing government information. Why did you want to take that direction in your book?
Well, I started writing murder investigation books and completed my first one in 2000, or was published in 2016. Mm-hmm. And Treason and Murder Investigation is actually book number 4 in a series of 9 that I've written. And it started out, I was a veterinarian, and I was doing work for a dairyman in southern Idaho, and he had a large family, and he and his family were avid skiers. And as I was leaving their house one day in the winter, and I noticed in their enclosed porch a whole series of ski boots. And if you didn't look close, you couldn't tell which was for the right foot and which was for the left foot. And it gave me an idea for a story. But I didn't do anything with it until 2015, after I'd retired from veterinary work and worked for the state of Utah, the state of Delaware, and the Air Force. And after I'd retired, I got to thinking, and, I just as well put this idea down on a book.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing that kind of surprised me as I was writing these books is it was almost as if I was either reading the book or someone was reading it to me, and I was transcribing the book.
Mm.
And that's just the way it came to me. And I think that the best of the series that I've published so far is Treason and Murder Investigation. And, I think quite highly of our nation. And when I encounter some indication that someone is being a traitor or trying to run it down, I guess just a little bit upset with it. And this gave me a chance to put some of my feelings down on paper regarding these people that are being traitors.
Well, look at that. Hey, well put, Ray. And we like where you're coming from. And now let's see where it's going with opening up the book and running through a few pages of Treason and Murder Investigation. Major General Jorgensen, he seems to be the main character, and he's helping to get traitors behind bars who are stealing government information. So tell us a little bit about this story development and character development, starting with Major General Jorgensen and some of the other characters in your book, Treason and Murder Investigation.
Well, another character in this book is Stephen Schmidt. He was a member of the Central Criminal Investigation Element and was assigned to General Jorgensen to assist him. And General Jorgensen taught him how to be a better investigator. And as a result of his ability to teach individuals how to be better investigators, he has been hired, so to speak, as part of his responsibility of being a general to teach other criminal investigators. And with General Jorgensen and Stephen Smith, who is a first lieutenant, they have developed the ability to investigate indications of treason. And they go through investigating, say, for instance, records of court-martials to find out who's been court-martialed, who was responsible for them being court-martialed, and very often the person who is responsible for someone being court-martialed is themselves a traitor. Mm. Not always, but often that was the case. And they became very good at doing this investigation. And over a period of time, General Jorgensen has put in prison between 200 and 300 criminals. He's had a state deputy attorney general, a state attorney general, state governor, a U.S. representative. He's put admirals and generals in prison. And when he puts these people in prison, or they are killed in the process of being arrested, there's individuals that are after General Jorgensen's head. Hmm. And he has been shot and put in jail, in hospitals many times. He spent probably more time in the Walter Reed Army Hospital than he has just about with his own family.
Wow.
And it gets just a little bit harrowing to be shot. They've shot several times. They've tried to knife him. They've tried several times to blow him up. They've tried to run him over with the truck. They've tried to push him off a cliff. And let's say that he lives something less than a peaceful life.
We get it. And he's indestructible, it seems. And, of course, he's dedicated to the end of stopping people from stealing government information. And we like that direction on People of Distinction. And people, if you like it too, you got to order this book, Treason and Murder Investigation, by our special spotlight guest, Raey Golden. And you can order it at Amazon and Barnes & Noble. And you are listening to People of Distinction with Al Cole. All right, so let's turn a few more pages in this. And as we're turning the pages, let me ask you something again that I'm sure people are interested in finding out. You have a gripping plot here with an Army officer who is dedicated to stopping treason in government. Is it based on factual evidence? Now, we know that there are traitors. There are people stealing government information, and there are people behind the scenes that are helping to stop that. But have you researched that on a realistic basis and maybe put some of the real situations into your fictional book, Treason and Murder Investigation, Raey?
The treason incidents are strictly fictional.
Mm-hmm.
In my book, when I'm referring to, say, for instance, a specific Army base or an Air Force base is involved, I try to put in the information that is factual based upon those specific bases. And the one individual that has probably been responsible for the promotion of General Jorgensen is President Eisenhower.
Mm-hmm.
And after President Eisenhower, President Kennedy was certainly a proponent for General Jorgensen. General Jorgensen was declared a national treasure by President Eisenhower because of the work that he was doing to protect the nation.
Oh, okay. So you're saying that actually Major General Jorgensen of the Army was was a real person?
No, he's fictional.
Oh, but you're saying, yeah, okay. In the book, real people like Eisenhower and Kennedy would have hailed his work. Is
That's
really
right.
Yeah, I get it. All right, my listeners get it as well. Yeah, keep it going. Say more about your book.
And when I am telling about, say, a particular base, there are times that I use the names of the actual officer. For instance, the pilot that was the pilot of Air Force One at the time of Eisenhower, I use that pilot's actual name. If there's times that I use the actual name of, say, a general that is a commander of a base, or, a colonel that is a commander of an Air Force base. Normally, though, I use fictional names, but I try to use the actual rank of the officer that would be in charge of those situations.
Mm-hmm.
So I do quite a bit of research, and when General Jorgensen is flying in an airplane, I try to show the specific type of plane and use factual information regarding the speed of the plane or the capacity of the plane, whatever, to try and make it as realistic as possible.
Yes, we get it. And, another thing that I'm sure people want to know about this, you had mentioned earlier in the interview, Raey, that Major General Jorgensen had put hundreds behind bars, 200 plus people. And Well, I think one of the questions would be, how many people actually have been put behind bars realistically since you mentioned Eisenhower? Since the Eisenhower years, traitors to this country, has it been maybe in the thousands if you've researched that?
You mean in realistically?
Yeah, no, realistically, yeah.
Realistically, I suspect that the actual number is going to be considerably smaller than that.
Oh.
The only traitors that I remember in my lifetime were the Rosenbergs during World War II.
Oh, yeah.
And after the World War II, the Rosenberg couple were executed.
That's
I
right.
do not know. I have not researched to determine, how many people actually have been traitors.
Mm-hmm.
But we know that there have been some, and a lot of them wind up eliminating themselves by retiring or going AWOL
Mm-hmm.
because they don't want to be caught and either executed or put in prison.
That's right. And you also said, this gets back to you as an individual, that you love this country and you hate the fact of anybody being a traitor to this country. In your estimation, Raey, because this is another thing that my listeners and I think people in general might be interested in, do you think that the number of traitors since Ike Eisenhower, let's say, has been increasing or decreasing? Are there more traitors now in our 21st century than there used to be? What do you think about that?
I think that they have increased exponentially.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and
a lot of it started during the time of the Vietnam War.
Uh-huh.
And there was a lot of effort to stop the fighting in Vietnam. But the thing of it is, there are legal ways to go about having things done, but they would go to, I'm trying to think of a good way to describe it. They would use techniques that are totally unreasonable, in my opinion. And along with this is the disrespect or racism against, say, for instance, African Americans, Japanese Americans, Hispanics,
mm-hmm.
and you'd think that with the civil rights movement that has gone on, that should be diminishing, but it seems to be building up, and that type of action results in at least a certain degree of being a traitor against this nation.
Yeah. Yeah, and I agree. There are things going on more and more in this society that we have to be vigilant about. We have to be watchful about. And, Raey Golden is vigilant with a lot of this in his book, Treason and Murder Investigation, that I think you, my listening audience, and anybody else who would like a wonderful, you could say, thriller novel, and at the same time built on a little bit of factual information as well, that will really envelop you, engross you, and make you feel that, wow, I'm really getting something out of this. This might be the book for you, people. Treason and Murder Investigation. It's available to you on Amazon.com. And, Raey, we have just a few minutes left in the Spotlight interview. We're really enjoying it. And I want you to take it out with anything else that you want to say about your book, Treason and Murder Investigation. So the Spotlight is again on you. Anything else that you want to add about Treason and Murder Investigation, Raey?
think, a question that was asked was, what has incident or what has happened to me in regards to the book? But the thing of it is, it isn't what the book has caused to happen for me. It is what has happened in my life that is included in the book. There's a lot of information there that if a person were to go through and pick it out, would tell a lot about myself. And I have a very difficult time reading my own book because it is so close to many things in my life. And, I remember World War II. I remember the Korean War. I remember the Vietnam War. And there's been a lot of racism that bothers me greatly. And my family came over to this country like prior to 1650 as Quakers, and that group of people is probably the most anti-racist that you will find anywhere. And I enjoy talking to people of all races, and I have met people that I spent some time in Germany, and I met one man that was a fighter pilot during the war. Another man was a U-boat commander, and another man was a SS trooper, front lines crack combat soldier. And if people can talk to people, there's going to be a lot less disagreement. There's going to be a lot less fighting.
Well, we agree totally here at People of Distinction. And I'll add to that at the end of the show here, people, what Ray was just talking about with anti-racism. He has a purer heart than many in this country who believe that maybe we should be segregated into different groups, even if it's not actually the same sort of segregation that civil rights people suffered in the 50s and even before that, of course. And I'm going to make a statement here because I agree with him. I am a black man myself. And so I've seen racism up close, and I've also seen the humanitarian aspects of life up close as well. And that's why I named my show People of Distinction, because I believe that we are all people of distinction, not just some of us. We're all people of distinction because we're born the same way. That little baby that was us comes out and says, wow, I'm here. I made it. I'm actually alive. That's the greatest blessing in the world, people. We're all under the same sun. We're all privy to a lot of the same feelings and a lot of the same goings-on in our life. And if we realize that we have more in common than we have in difference, we're a better group of people within our human family. And we need everybody. And particularly on that spiritual plane, if we're saying that we are the children of God, if you want to put it that way, well, God creates human beings in God's image. And so we're all a bit of God like ourselves. And so why should there be this disparity that we draw among different racial groups? Ray is absolutely right. We need to care about each other because we are all in it together. And if we keep going down the road of contentiousness and racism, well, we're going to go under as a human family rather than elevate ourselves as a human family. And that's my statement right now. And that's why I believe that people of distinction is everybody in our hearts and soul. And so every once in a while, people, say a prayer for somebody that you don't even know, because they're a part of you. They are your brother and sister, even if you don't know them. They were born the same time as you are. You know, even if they're only 3 years old and you're 93, you're contemporaneous. You're living at the same time. You're breathing the same air. So care about each other, people. And that's what People of Distinction is all about. And I'm so happy that Raey brought that up. Yeah, Raey. And you believe that too. And, you know, we love that, to hear that from one of our authors on People of Distinction, especially an author that wrote a thriller novel named Treason and Murder Investigation. To talk about anti-racism is really, really a special thing. I congratulate you, Raey, for that. And I congratulate also author Reputation Press for bringing Raey to our show and moving his book. And they can move your book too. AuthorReputationPress.com is where you want to go for that. And go to Amazon and Barnes & Noble to order Treason and Murder Investigation by our special spotlight guest, Raey Golden. Thank you so much, Raey, for being my guest on People of Distinction today with Al Cole, and we wish you all the best with your book and your life directions. This has been my pleasure. Thank you so much, Raey.
And thank you. I liked it. This gives me something to listen to.
Well, there you go.